Hey, how's it going everybody? It's the Game Economist, and today we'll be talking about the Greatsword, Ultra Greatsword, and how it performs in duels. In my opinion, amongst the Ultra Greatswords, this is the best one for duels, but you have to be careful about how you think about that. It doesn't mean you're going to go win a tournament. It doesn't mean that it's an S tier weapon. It just means that amongst Ultras, is the best Ultra Greatsword for duels. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt. Mostly what helps it stand out is the 23 spaces it gets on its R1, and that's enough range that when you're putting down the R1, your opponent can't easily come in for a neutral punish. So what they have to do is they have to rely on their running attack, and usually, in my opinion, you have enough time to get away from the running attack, except for when you're fighting something like the washing pole, the bident, and the plow, which I think is one of the things that really holds this weapon back. Is you're gonna have trouble with the weapons that have really good running attacks. Whenever I talk to people who are a bit more experienced with the game, right, they're not randoms, they always joke about all you need to do is roll and react to an Ultra Greatsword, and they laugh about it. I could react to you all day, and it's frustrating because what they don't understand is I agree with them. You totally can roll this weapon all day, right? You can roll against it, react to every one of my moves. The thing is, as somebody who's used it for a while, I don't care that you can roll every one of my moves. It doesn't matter. The important moments of the fight aren't when you're rolling or dodging my R1s. The most important moments are when you're attacking me. You see, with an ultra weapons are so slow, just like the Greatsword, Ultra Greatsword, the only thing that they can do is trade. So in order for me to win the fight, I need you to trade into me. You can be as passive as you want. You can roll as many of my moves as you want. The only thing I care about is if you attack me, and you eventually will because you have to. And so all of my player skill, all of my technique, you could call it, goes down into whether or not I can get you to attack me and I can get you into a trade. That's where it all happens. So whenever you hear somebody say, oh, why didn't you just roll the Ultra Greatsword? They say that because they don't play Ultra Greatswords. And it's easy to understand why, because they generally have a very low view of Ultra Greatswords, right? So what makes the Greatsword, Ultra Greatsword stand out is that you have a smaller window of time to punish me when I'm putting down that R1. With the usual Ultra Greatsword, when they use their R1, you just punish it and you're done, right? They have 17 spaces, usual Ultra, the horizontal moveset, most of them all have 17 spaces, but the vertical moveset on GUGS is 23, which is long enough, that's about the size of the split leaf halberd, right? So it's hard for you to get in there unless you're using a running attack and it's timed very well. And if you're using a running attack, you're coming from the end of my weapon, and I'm actually looking for that and trying not to be baited, right? I'm trying not to be baited into your running attack. I don't have to use an R1 if you're at the end of my weapon. I only have to use it if you're in close range. Then I use it to clear you, which when I say clear, I mean force you to roll. Okay, so again, jumping back to the idea, I need you to trade with me. So right away in the fight, I let you know that you do need to be paying attention. I get you comfortable with the rolling of the weapon. I want you to be comfortable. And then I start to pressure you. I start to block and get really close range with you. And it's at that point that we're playing, kind of rock, scissors, paper. I'm bluffing. I want you to attack me because I need you to go for your interrupt. You think you're going to interrupt, but you end up in a very high damage trade. And that's the only way that this Greatsword, Ultra Greatsword breaks out of the low tiers, in my opinion. So I'm suggesting I've found maybe an innovative technique for using it, and that's just something for the community to test for themselves and make a decision about. Everybody's, again, very comfortable parroting that idea. All Ultra Greatswords are trash. Just like you could say something like, all spears are amazing. Well, no, they're not. What about the jailer spear, right? That's garbage. It stands out from the rest of the group. I'm saying the Greatsword, Ultra Greatsword stands out from the rest of the Ultra Greatswords. So to summarize the playstyle again, because I want to make sure you guys understand it really well, I make sure, first of all, that I don't get frustrated if I miss. I think that's a problem for all Ultra users, is if they miss too many times, they get annoyed. I never get annoyed. You will never annoy me by dodging every one of my moves. I lay down the R1 in close range to make sure that you have to roll. And then what I begin to do is after there maybe a little reaction fatigue has set in, maybe after both players have become too comfortable, right? We've stepped into a tempo rather than a reaction. I like to get very close, and then what I do is I don't attack you. I block, and if you do attack me, and I didn't put out my R1 in time, if you do attack me, I roll backwards. But what I'm really looking for you is to commit to attacking me, and hopefully what I've already done is clicked R1 about the same time you did, because you'd be surprised how fast the hyper armor kicks in on the GUGS. It kicks in very fast. If we click at the same time, you're going to get into a trade, and that's the technique in a nutshell. The other thing I can talk about is the R2 that I use a lot. The R2 is a very long-ranged move, is 25 spaces, so you're never able to just roll backwards out of it. If you see me charging it, you can't roll backwards. It's not going to save you. You actually do need to time your roll based on when I release the attack, and that gets to play in my favor a little bit. If one thing I have to look out for is if you decide I'm going to react to it with the backstab. So in that case, I need to be tilting it a little bit to the left, and that actually puts the end of the swing behind me. So if you did try to roll behind me, you're going to be roll caught, because that's the other thing about the R2. It lasts for a while. It lasts for so long that it's going to keep hitting even after you've rolled. So at the end of your roll, if you went behind me, you just took a ton of damage. And I tested that with somebody who did a lot of backstabs on me. I got a lot of practice in. It was a lot of fun, and he was using the Biden and doing a really terrific job against me. And I was learning, as we played, I was learning a lot about the weaknesses of Ultra Greatswords. You know, the recovery frames on his running attacks were very short. It was hard for me to trade with it. And there were two things in particular that I learned with the Greatsword, Ultra Greatsword in those fights. The first one is, while they're waiting to react in close range, if you don't think you can land an R1 with the weapon, you can actually fast swap over to the Dragon Head shield and let out a weapon art, and that occasionally that tricks them. The other thing, of course, is that if you suspect they're backstab fishing, you do need to tilt the R2 to your left. But yeah, I think that basically explains the whole playstyle. Get them comfortable with the timing of your swing, tempt them into attacking you. You're going to play a game where you're going to try and trade into them. You're not going to, here's the thing, don't ever wait too long to let out an R1. If you bluff for too long, they might actually get you. If they do get you, you're blocking. So always roll backwards. Don't let them have the combo, right? That way you just take a little bit of chip damage. Kind of similar to if you're using like the Black Knight shield and the enemy had a good dark weapon, right? It's kind of like that, maybe a little worse. But yeah, it's very similar to that. And then you're going for those trades. And if for a long time your opponent won't attack, you can occasionally throw in an R2 and try to reactively roll catch them if they panic. You know, if they don't decide to purely react to your swing, if they're like, I'll just jump out of range, you can react to catch that. Or you can also tilt it to cover your backside. That's it. I don't use the rolling attack because it's bad. Oh, also I should mention the stomp on this. It actually brings you out of your recovery frames faster. So if you're in a situation where you've used an R2 or an R1 and you're pretty sure you're about to be punished, you can go into the stomp, you'll take reduced damage, and then you can roll out right afterwards. So that's just another tip. It's more of an advanced thing. And of course, finishing weapons. After you've traded with your opponent for a decent amount of damage, when they're getting low on health, I never finished with the Greatsword, Ultra Greatsword. I lost a match that I really wanted to win, and I think I'm pretty confident I would have won if I'd already developed a strategy for finishing my opponent. I always bring out fast, light weapons like Dragon Head Shield and S-Stock for finishing my opponent. Weapons where I'm in a situation that I can trade with them, you know, with the light weapon and win, because they're not allowed to trade anymore because they're almost dead. So always have your finishing tools with you. All right, and that, I believe, is about everything I wanted to say. I don't want you walking away from this video going, all Ultra Greatswords are trash. Watch the footage, think about the struggles of the person who's fighting against me, and just ask yourself, is he fighting a trash weapon? Give it a try. Go experiment with it. Go play against your friends who maybe they're a bit more skilled at PvP. Go play some of the better players. Now, I would love to see some of the most skilled PvPers pick up this weapon and evaluate it and still tell me it's one of the worst weapons in the game and that it doesn't actually come in closer to mid-tier, maybe like B-tier, right? I would love to see that, or just for the exchange, just to hear their opinions. And it's just something you don't see very often. I don't think that high-tier duelists like to use any other weapon than what they're used to using. And that a lot of the times that's what creates the tier, you know, that's what skews it one way or another until you see some innovation and somebody's using a weapon like Mailbreaker and making it become a higher tier weapon, or Murky Hand Scythe, something like that. That's how these things work, okay? All right, well, I appreciate you guys' feedback. Let me know if you want more videos like this. I think I will actually work on a duel tier list. I've been thinking about it. I've been writing some notes, and if you want to contribute toward that, you can tell me what you think the top 10 or top 20 duel weapons are in the comment section, and maybe I'll have more on that later. See you guys next time.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I just want to thank y'all so much!